So we can just get stuck into it, and maybe just start with because we'll just edit up until you start talking. So it just seems like it seamlessly started into you talking. So don't stress about how to start this or anything, but maybe just go into what are the core fundamentals that you start with when you've got a client on board. What are the key things that you're looking for when it comes to nutrition, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so some of the core fundamentals I look for when I onboard a client when it comes to nutrition is I just ask a couple of very basic questions. One is my most popular question is how much water do you drink per day? Because that's a key indicator to me on how disciplined someone is, because it's not easy to stay consistent with the amount of water that you drink per day. And I teach my clients as to why that is critical. The second question that I typically ask is, do you have any sense of your caloric intake per day, even an average? And then the third one is, do you have any sense of the macronutrient ratio that you consume per day? Do you know how much percent of your calories are made up of proteins, how much are made up of carbs, how much are made up of fats? So that's usually the three top questions that I start with.
And do you find that most people aren't drinking enough water? And if so, like what? Why do you think that even is?
Quite frankly, I just don't think they see the value in it, and the importance of water and what it does, and the role that it plays in your metabolic function, and how efficient your metabolism can really operate on a day to day, and how that really aids and supports your digestion. And I think it's extremely critical. I mean, I believe in that the minimum of water someone should drink per day is 1 gallon. And right off the top, when I mention that to a client, a prospective client, or even a client that signed up and is ready to get started, and I'm getting that person ready, they look at me like with this crazy look, like this guy's crazy. He's drinking a gallon a day, but it's very important. And believe me that once it becomes a habit, it just naturally just starts happening without even thinking about it. And you're going to see how your body really is receptive to it. And it's just, when you don't meet that threshold per day, you will see the difference, and you will feel the difference with your energy, with how your metabolism, how your body looks, feels, everything. So
Yeah,
that's the approach.
yeah, and I guess if they can push through that hard phase of actually drinking the water, then it becomes easy and they get the benefits without any hard work at that point. Eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you mentioned the next part was do they track their calories? I'm assuming most people are not at this point when you were talking with them.
That's right. They are not. They have no sense typically of how many calories you're consuming per day, so they have no concept of what their minimum and maximum thresholds are. They're what they call your MBR, right? I'm sorry, BMR. My apologies. Basal metabolic rate, which is the minimum number of calories your body needs just to function, your organs to function on a day to day, and they have no idea what that is. And it all factors into your age, your height, your gender, and how active you are as a person, right? So that gives you a baseline threshold of what the minimum number should be. So then you can then calculate and figure out, okay, what should my deficit be? How many should I be consuming if I'm trying to add weight, and how much of a surplus I should be in? Okay, then the next tier underneath that is the quality of the calories. What kind of calories are you consuming? Because not all calories are equal, right? Like, chicken is a very popular protein. Well, what type of chicken are you eating? Is it fried chicken or is it grilled chicken? Things like that, how your food is cooked, and these other things that people kind of overlook and really don't understand how that impacts their body.
Yeah. So there's I guess if we moved into the macronutrients of the fats, carbs, and proteins, do you usually dive into that as well once they know how to know what their calorie intake is?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I actually have a list of what I deem as your good recommended best practice fats, carbs, and proteins that you should really aiming to consume. Now, I understand everyone's nutrition is different. Some dietary restrictions are different, so we definitely flex to that and accommodate that. For the most part, it's directionally correct and aligned with most people. And I provide a listing of that to kind of help them grocery shop, and if they can and eat out, they at least go in and they look at the menu completely different. Now at a restaurant, they're like, okay, well now I want to make an informed decision, and I know this what this is going to do as a result of me consuming it.
Yeah, nice. So do you help? Would you help clients, or do you think it's important that they actually know what the fats, carbs, and proteins ratios are for them specifically, based off their calories?
I do. So I help calculate that up top. I ask additional questions and more detailed questions to understand, again, their body, how active they are, what their lifestyle is like, and also, their social activity, because, the social calendar plays a major impact in this, specifically with parents, right? Because, you're kind of all over the place as a parent. So depending again on everyone's situation, I accommodate and customize it based on their needs and how their life is structured. But yeah, absolutely, I come up with a ratio, and we start off with a recommended caloric intake based on macronutrient percentage breakdown. And then what we do is, depending on the type of program that they sign up for, coaching program, then I kind of customize additional beyond that, and then it also kind of impacts how many frequent touch points we have.
Yeah, and I know that stuff can be pretty confusing for most people. So you're obviously taking that burden of confusion off the plate for them and helping them through that and doing it for them.
Absolutely. And I believe in simplification. So my approach is really to not overcomplicate things and really simplify it. So I really put it together and pose it in a way where it's very simple, very straightforward. And I think the other piece too that I found and that clients have shared is they reach out for coaching help because they really want to have someone hold them accountable. So I think that's the other piece, right? The accountability piece, and really kind of keep someone structured, and really, again, developing good habits ends up developing routines, and the routine is really the key. That if you can get into a good routine, everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah, I mean, and you've mentioned like structure, routine, and individualization of what people do on a daily basis. Like when you talk about routine, what are you referring to there?
Yeah, I'm talking about, like, okay, when you start your day, like, when is your first meal? What meal is that? Is it consistent? Does it vary? Here's the thing, like, what I've also learned is, like, a lot of people are hesitant, or kind of overthink getting on a diet or on a strict nutrition plan, because they're like, well, I want to be very limited and I can only do certain things. And I think a lot of people like the creative aspect of it, so I definitely welcome that, and I'm open to that as long as it aligns with quality foods. But the truth is this, that once you find what works, you stick to it and you consume it, and it becomes very routine oriented, and day in and day out you're probably going to be eating a lot of the similar meals, a lot of the similar foods. You could definitely put a spin on it to get, keep it interesting, but you really have to think about, like, what works, what fits into my plan, and also from a timing perspective, how much time is this going to take me to prep, so I can keep moving with my day and being efficient with my day and my time. So that's part of the routine. So your first meal, right? When is your first drink of water? Do you take any micronutrient supplements? What I mean by that is organic supplements such as your multivitamin. Do you take a fiber supplement? Do you take a green superfood supplement? Do you take any other type of supplementation to kind of aid in your recovery, as well as your metabolism, as well as your digestion and inflammation, and all these different factors that kind of come together to that should be working together to help you get to the point, and accomplish your goal and live a healthier lifestyle and really sustain it, right? So that's really what I mean by developing good routines and having that discipline.
Yeah, nice. And you mentioned about some of the supplements and supplementation. Would that be something that you would implement with the client straight away? Or would you work on the fats and the caloric intake stuff first, or like how would you actually program that into the client's plan?
Yeah, so I'm very straightforward about it. The main thing I do is I come up with a plan that is aligned to the person, right, and their goal. My take on the supplements is, my angle is, I highly recommend it. I don't require it, and I definitely break down each one. I explain the benefits of each. Again, they're all very natural, organic. But again, I tell individuals, at the end of the day, it's your decision if you want to consume this. But it comes with a highly recommendation from me. It's something that I personally utilize on a day to day. And it's just for me, it's automatic. Again, I'm just so routine oriented. And again, everything that I coach my clients on, I've either tested or consumed myself or done it. That's aided in my transformation, so I know firsthand this stuff works. It's definitely showing the results.
Yeah, you mentioned before as well with in the part about routines that once you've got like a formula that works, you can just follow the formula. Does that apply whether someone's trying to lose weight or put on muscle? Like, do the same routine or principles apply to that?
Yeah, same principles apply. Maybe the routine might be tweaked, but the principles are the same. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, right, you have to be in the deficit, right? So if you find meals that fit into your calories, that you can still spread out 4 to 5 meals a day and you still stay within your calories, then you kind of want to stick to those, right? Because you're hitting the right number of proteins to really recover and build the muscle. You're hitting the right number of fats and carbs, right, to have the right energy, etc. And hormone balance. And then on the flip side, if you're trying to put on quality muscle and be in a surplus, what type of carbs specifically? You're going to have to be heavy on the carbs. So what type of carbs are you consuming? How often? What time of the day is important? Because you also want to give your body a chance to digest before you go to bed, right? Which is a lot of the things people don't think about, right? So I provide again recommendations around when your last meal of the day should be in comparison to when you go to sleep, the types of carbs, when you should consume your carbs, and then what you should consume pre-workout, post-workout, and things like that.
Nice. And when you mentioned losing weight being in a deficit, what is a deficit for people that don't understand what that is?
Yeah, so basically, like, just very simply said, like, let's just say that, your baseline threshold is 2,000 calories, right? Just to kind of like you burn through 2,000 calories just to kind of operate throughout the day, and that 2,000 threshold is going to keep your weight flat. Like, basically, will be no increase or decrease. So deficit is below that number, right? So you're at 1,900 or 1,800 below the 2,000 baseline threshold, and then but again, the trick here is like determining how low do you want to go, right? Because you can't go too low in a deficit where you're not getting proper nutrition, you don't have the proper energy, and that's going to affect everything else: your sleep, your recovery, everything. Plus, what happens is your body, everyone's body is very smart. So initially, when you shock the body, you're going to see a drastic decrease in weight, like maybe 8 to 10 pounds right off the bat. But then your body is smart and it really readjusts pretty quickly. And it's like, okay, I know what you're doing now. Now it readjusts, and what happens is a lot of people that don't know how to properly execute a nutrition plan, they basically start hitting a wall, and they go through 3, 4, 5, 6 days. We're like, man, like I'm not eating a lot. I'm eating very clean, and all this stuff, and I'm going to the gym and I'm doing all these things, and their bodies, they're not losing weight, and it's because their digestion has stalled because your body has basically readjusted itself. So there is a trick to it where you have to keep your body kind of on edge. And there are things you can do throughout your nutrition plan based on timing, based on certain meals that I would guide you on to kind of kick start your metabolism again, to sort of confuse it, get it revved back up, get you to start shredding some weight, and then getting back on the plan. So there's like a science behind that, but there's definitely an understanding of timing as well as again understanding the individual and being aligning to that.
Yeah, and I guess that's where most people get caught up and confused, right? They might hit that first plateau and then just don't have the skills and tools to be able to navigate through that process.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's exactly right.
Yeah, and so on the opposite end of that, when we talk about, you mentioned putting on clean muscle, obviously just getting fatter isn't often a goal for most people. So putting on clean muscle means they're going to have to eat more. How do we actually manage that so it's not, like I say, just getting fatter?
Yeah. So again, it's a calculation here, right? It's understanding. Okay, being cognizant of how many calories am I consuming, what type of foods, what type of quality calories and meals am I having, when am I having them, how often am I having them. You definitely want to be cognizant of, you know, having carbs before and after your workouts, because that's when your metabolism kicks into gear. So that's when your body's really trying to absorb a lot of that stuff. So again, just being aware of that, not just going and saying, hey, I have to put on muscle or I have to put on weight and I'm just going to go start eating pizzas and burgers and, all kinds of crazy things. And I'm not saying that you definitely can't consume some of that, but again, there's a time to do that. And there's also a frequency that you can do that. You can't just do that every day. So that understanding that comes with the coaching, right? And that guidance that I would be providing to help, the clients understand that piece of it.
Got it. Do you think is there anything else around nutrition that you think is important to bring up or on this conversation that will help others, or anything
Yeah,
I'm missing?
absolutely. Here's my bottom line as a coach, and I firmly believe in this because I've transformed like 3 or 4 times, and I like I said, everything that I coach with, I've tested it out. I know what works and I know what doesn't. What I'll say is this, and this is my percentage. This is my strong opinion. I believe firmly that if anyone wants to properly transform, whether add size or decrease size or add weight, lose weight, whatever their goal is, 90% of it comes from nutrition. That is my personal, I stand by that percentage. That's how heavy I weight nutrition. I tell that to people all the time. You can train 7 days a week, 3 hours a day, bust your tail and be disciplined and say, I never miss a gym workout and do all that stuff. But if your nutrition isn't on point, you'll never see the results. You'll never be happy with your body or how you look. It just won't translate. So you got to have your nutrition locked in. Yes, you have to train and you have to do all those other things, but you definitely have to have nutrition if you really want to see the transformation and the results that you're looking for, and that as far as meeting your goals.
Nice. And we'll talk about some of that training stuff soon. How do people get hold of you if they are serious about this and actually do want to make some big changes and a bit lost, don't know what to do?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be providing a link down below where you can contact me, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions anyone has, or if you want to talk further offline, I'm definitely happy to do that as well, and we'll provide that information down below.
Awesome. Well, let's start talking about some training.